But when ELF does go on a run, it can double, triple out of the blue. I mean, it is just that type of stock. If you are going to own a stock like ELF, you just have to be mentally prepared for the roller coaster ride because that's what you need to expect. I recorded that about a month ago, almost exactly 30 days ago. And in that time, very short time period, ELF is up about 50%, if not a little over. Absolutely insane for the stock, but at the same time, I kind of want to pause and ask the question, is this just the beginning? And the reason for that is because in that video, I went into a deep dive on analyses, predictions, and projections for ELF stock based off of my personal research. So if you want to pause here, go check out that video first and then come back to this one. Everything will make a little bit more sense. And in these kind of scenarios where I have a stock absolutely shooting to the moon, I like to hit the brakes a little bit and do another PE ratio analysis in order to get a better understanding of what exactly is happening with the stock. And when I did a little bit of research on ELF again, I found that they have a trailing PE ratio that is well above $170, which makes sense considering how poorly the stock had been performing for the last year or so. On a forward PE ratio basis, though, through the end of next year, I find that ELF stock has a PE ratio of 21, which is still much lower than the fair PE ratio that I gave ELF of about 30. This is again why I am incredibly excited and think that there's still much more growth to go for the stock, at least through the end of the year. Because as a reminder, my bear case with a 20 forward PE ratio would have ELF at about $88 per share. Now again, that was over the next like 3.5 years. But the more I look at it and the more I sit down and think about it, given the momentum that ELF has right now, I can see that 16% jump from where we're at right now by the end of 2026. Now, that's just a possibility. Again, do not make investing decisions based off of what some random guy on the internet thinks. But when I had a look at the numbers, I find that a PEG ratio is incredibly useful in these kinds of scenarios. If you are new to the stock market, what exactly is a PEG ratio? Well, I'm basically taking the forward PE ratio of about 21 and then dividing it by the growth expectation through the end of next year. When I did a little bit of research, I found that that was about 10% expected through the end of 2027. This ultimately gave me a PE ratio of about 1.95. So what does that mean exactly? Well, to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised when I found that number because ideally I want to see a value of 1 or less than 1 when it comes to the PEG ratio. Because generally anything in that range means to me that a stock is incredibly undervalued and it has a lot of growth expected. With the PEG ratio hovering right around 2, that generally means that the stock is about fairly valued. And I did a little bit more research and found a couple of articles that actually agreed with this. In some cases, some of the articles even made the argument that ELF is overvalued at its current stock price of about $76 per share. Ultimately, what do I think about this massive climb in ELF stock price and what am I doing with my position in my portfolio? Ultimately, I hate to be the one to say I told you so, but I fully expected ELF to make this type of rebound because all of the numbers were screaming at me, telling me that stock was incredibly undervalued when it was under like $50 a share. It just didn't make any sense to me. And like I mentioned on my deep dive video on ELF, anything under $70 a share was a heavy buy for me in my portfolio. But anything under $100, and I still think ELF is still relatively fair given that price range. Now, anything can happen in the short term, and I might be putting the cart in front of the horse here with these predictions through the end of the year, but given my long-term vision for the stock, going through 2030, where I said that I expect this stock in a bull case scenario to be over $170 per share, I think anything under $100 in 2026 is an amazing buy, and I will still stand by that decision. Now, it will be incredibly interesting, and it kind of makes me wonder if somebody knows something ahead of e.l.f.'s upcoming earnings, which is going to be on August the 5th, by the way. But I will be keeping a close eye and listening to that earnings call and having a look at that 10Q, because something tells me, or at least it's a gut feeling for me, that I'm expecting some massive news or expecting to see amazing numbers from e.l.f. over the next month or so. But that is it for me. Happy 4th of July to everybody celebrating here over the weekend in the United States. And I also have a massive game to watch. We have Mexico versus England in the World Cup. Incredibly excited. If you are watching from somewhere in the world besides the United States, be sure to let me know where you're at. And let me know what you think of e.l.f.'s rocket climb here in the stock market, and let me know, what are you doing with e.l.f. in your portfolio? And if you do not own e.l.f., are you thinking about owning it in the near future? And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.